Taiwan's central bank has $500 billion in reserve, and its governor is facing pressure to invest it.
Caregivers needed. Taiwan is facing a shortage of workers to look after its growing senior population. Scientists use an Earth simulator in the fight against climate change. Plus,
the outlying islands of Matsu are known for their strong liquor. Today, we're going to take you to a cafe where they're mixing it with coffee.
A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao. Norway, China, Kuwait. Some of the world's richest countries spend their money through sovereign wealth funds. They give states a way to earn money and buy influence in global firms. Now, Taiwan is considering setting up a fund of its own. Stash Butler has more.
Taiwan's central bank governor faces a grilling in the legislature. The country holds over $500 billion in foreign currency, and lawmakers want to know why that money's not been invested.
从这5000多亿里面，我要跟你拿10%来去成立主权基金，那你这个将来等于是这些的担保是不是就减少了？
我们是持开放的立场，但是呢，我们对于稳定我们国内的金融市场呢，中央银行呢，一定有我们的职责。
Central Bank Governor Yang Jinglong says he's not against investing Taiwan's money overseas through a sovereign wealth fund. But what does that mean? A sovereign wealth fund is essentially a special pot of extra money owned by the state. Instead of saving that money or putting it back into the country's economy, it decides to invest it around the world, then spend the returns back home. Taiwan is often compared with South Korea, Singapore, and Hong Kong. Together, they're known as the Asian Tigers. But of those countries, Taiwan is the only one without its own sovereign wealth fund. The world's biggest sovereign wealth fund is in Norway. The state there owns one worth nearly $1.4 trillion. The next two biggest are controlled by China, followed by Abu Dhabi with about $850 billion, and Kuwait with $750 billion.
The way sovereign wealth funds are being used is not only to increase the return, but also to increase soft power, because you can be the strategic investor of a major company.
Taiwan is blocked from the UN and most international agencies by China, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory. But a sovereign wealth fund could help Taiwan strengthen its clout.
It's really about whether it wants to expand its geopolitical influence through the basically the government-owned resources.
But a fear of angering Beijing might stop companies from accepting Taiwanese money.
Some people think Taiwan cannot do this because companies will not want to have a strategic investor from Taiwan for what it means for the mainland. But frankly, I think one could argue Taiwan could at least try.
The idea of a Taiwan sovereign wealth fund has been debated for years, and like any major investment, it would certainly come with risks. But for its supporters, a dedicated investment fund for Taiwan could earn the country some extra cash and build vital influence overseas. Klein Wang and Stash Butler for TaiwanPlus.
After months of slow growth, Taiwan's economy should rebound by the end of the year. That's what the governor of the central bank has told lawmakers.
你说第三季就可能反弹了？
可能第三季会到第三季，最好能够第三季结束啊，
第四季反弹。
Taiwan's economy depends on selling products, mostly electronics and machines, to other countries. But many places are not buying as much because of economic uncertainty and rising prices. That has caused Taiwan's economy to slow down. However, Yang hopes those problems will ease between July and September. He expects Taiwan's economy will start growing faster in the final months of the year. Taiwan is facing a shortage of workers to look after its growing elderly population. The country now hopes to address this problem by bringing in more migrant workers. But Taiwan might not be the attractive option for overseas laborers that it once was, Bing Wang reports.
Granny Wang moved to a long-term care facility after retiring as an elementary school teacher. She spends her free time at the facility teaching Mandarin and Taiwanese Hokkien to her caregiver and playing board games with the staff. It's a lifestyle that many elderly people may not be able to enjoy for much longer. There's an acute shortage of caregivers in Taiwan, even as the population is aging rapidly. Now the Labor Ministry says it's planning to recruit 14,000 migrant caregivers to fill the shortage.
我是觉得可以缓解到我们那个现场上经营长照机构者的一个人力，目前是可以治标啦。
Families in long-term care facilities in Taiwan have long hired migrant caregivers to take care of older people. These workers are not entitled to Taiwan's minimum wage and are often given little time off. In the past, Taiwan was still an attractive enough destination for overseas work that migrants often overlooked these concerns. But that might not be the case anymore.
环境跟福利啊，还有薪水是否诱惑啊，会成为他愿不愿意留在机构继续奋斗的主要原因。
Some scholars are suggesting another route that can sidestep the lower wages and job insecurity migrant caregivers face.
可以开放外国的护理系毕业的劳工进到台湾来从事护理助理的工作，那相信对台湾照的照护品质会更好。
There are some 700,000 migrant workers in Taiwan. They are essential to the country's economy. And many agree that bringing in more of these workers would only help Taiwan's growing population of older people, like Granny Wong, but they argue that better pay and working conditions will make the government's plan a win for both sides. Eason Chen and Bing Wong for TaiwanPlus.
A young child in Taiwan has contracted COVID-19 5 times since the pandemic began. The frequency of the child's infections has kept them from getting vaccinated against the virus. That's because Taiwan recommends waiting 3 months after an infection before getting a jab. However, the child's case suggests they contracted the virus again within that window. Taiwan is going through its 4th wave of COVID-19 infections after the country ended its mask mandate last month. Health authorities say the wave is reaching its peak with around 200 moderate to severe cases per day.
新冠并发症的一个部分，那这个礼拜呢，跟上个礼拜呢，大概是上升了3成的左右。
A state-sponsored Chinese hacking group is spying on a wide range of critical U.S. infrastructure. That's according to American tech firm Microsoft. Microsoft said with moderate confidence that Chinese group Volt Typhoon was seeking information that could disrupt communication between the U.S. and Asia during a future crisis. It added the hackers had targeted the U.S. island territory of Guam, home to strategically important U.S. military bases. In the event of a Chinese attack of Taiwan, Guam would likely play a key role in the U.S. response if Washington chose to intervene. Typhoon Mawar has battered the Pacific island of Guam. Strong winds and heavy rains have knocked out power and cut phone lines. It's the most powerful typhoon to hit the U.S. territory in 2 decades. Once again, Bing Wong has more.
The U.S. territory of Guam took a battering from the most powerful typhoon to hit the island in 2 decades. Typhoon Mawar brought torrential rains and strong winds of up to 240 kilometers per hour, wrecking houses and flipping over cars. Phone lines and power have been cut off for most of the Pacific island.
It's bad, it's bad. I need to get out of there.
I always pray to God to help me and my family and all the people of Guam.
Prone to typhoons, Guam is home to more than 170,000 people, 10% of whom are connected to the U.S. military, which has 2 bases on the island and controls nearly a third of the territory. The U.S. Navy says it's sending an aircraft carrier strike group to help with recovery operations. Guam authorities warned electricity and water may not be available for days and perhaps weeks until after the storm passes. All but 1,000 of the island's 52,000 homes and businesses lost power. No deaths or injuries have been reported thus far. The governor of Guam had asked those near the coast to evacuate and others to stay inside their homes.
We are at the crosshairs of Typhoon Mawar. Take action now. Stay calm, stay informed, and stay safe.
The White House ordered federal agencies to assess the damage.
Federal agencies including FEMA, Coast Guard, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the National Guard have been deployed and are coordinating response effort. The White House is in close contact with the government of Guam and has offered as much support as needed to respond to this tragic major storm.
The storm has weakened and is heading north. It could hit the Philippines and Taiwan next week. Alex Chen and Bing Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Now, Taiwan itself is no stranger to seasonal typhoons, but a lack of them in recent years is one of the main reasons the country is now battling a historic drought. Scientists in Taiwan have begun using a so-called digital copy of the Earth to try and better understand and predict drastic changes in the weather. Joyce Zeng reports.
Intensifying cyclones, wildfires, and droughts like the historic one Taiwan is experiencing. Many of these phenomena have been attributed to human activity, such as the burning of fossil fuels, which have had major effects on the climate. But imagine being able to foresee the natural consequences of our actions. That's the principle behind simulation models like this one, created by Taiwan's academia Sinica. It's a program that effectively attempts to predict the future. Using a digital copy of the Earth, it maps out possible weather patterns and even potential climate disasters.
等于是模拟这整个地球系统运作，所以你把它想象说它一个虚拟的地球在电脑里面。
This is not solely a Taiwan endeavor. Even big tech companies like U.S. software firm NVIDIA have focused their efforts on developing a so-called digital twin of the Earth. Scientists hope it'll help them explore what-if scenarios when it comes to climate change. The model created by Taiwan's researchers has been ranked among the top 10 digital simulators of its kind. But what keeps this virtual Earth turning is this supercomputer, which takes up rows and rows of space to house its many processing units. Though it switched out conventional cooling systems with more sustainable water cooling devices, running so many complex simulations consumes a lot of energy.
像我们这样跑10年的话，通常会用到超级电脑很大的一部分，好几天才会得到结果。
Though tech can be a powerful tool in the fight against climate change, energy use is the main dilemma in developing more advanced tools. Still, the value of powering this virtual Earth is clear. With a potential window into the future, people can hope to prepare not just for the worst, but also try to get organized and facilitate for the best. Leon Lian and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, we meet an orchestra performing without strings or horns. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Several contractors in southern Taiwan have lost large sums of money in a new scam. The scammers pretended to be from a local university with urgent projects. But as John Van Triest reports, the firms they offered to hire for the job ended up paying instead.
This contractor has just witnessed a vanishing act. He recently took a call from someone claiming to be from the National Pingtung University. They were asking for help with an urgent project and offered a contract for the following day. But because it was so rushed, they said, it meant there wasn't yet time to sort out the details, and the contractor would have to pay hefty administrative fees in advance. But the caller wasn't from a university at all, and the whole thing was a scam. As soon as the supposed administration payment had cleared, the caller disappeared. Several contracting companies fell for the trick. Some were asked to help with building projects, others to supply things like trash cans. But all suffered heavy losses, with one victim paying close to $10,000 US.
花劳力，花时间下去工作，我们也不是说哦，一天可以赚多少钱的人这样。
所以对我们来讲很伤啊！我只是想要希望连学校也要知道，因为人家是用你们名义了，甚至这个人的名字都一模一样。
The university has warned about the scam in the hope that there won't be any more victims.
本校已经去派出所备案了，同时也将这个诈骗的相关讯息抛在我们学校的首页，也告知我们学校所有厂商说有这个诈骗的事件。
It's unclear whether the existing victims will ever see their money again. Scams of all sorts are big business in Taiwan. In the last quarter of 2022, fake investments netted $40 million. Online romance scams accumulated millions last year too. And false offers of employment abroad have seen hundreds of Taiwanese citizens trafficked to Southeast Asia over the past year, which has made regular headlines. While this latest scam has been uncovered and steps are being taken to address it, Taiwanese scammers continue to find new victims and new ways to go after their money. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The cabinet has announced a 7-year, $1.3 billion plan to make Taiwan's roads safer. The money will go to improving roads and signals, as well as traffic safety courses in schools. Officials hope to cut fatal accidents by 5% this year after Taiwan's poor road safety made international headlines. In December, CNN described Taiwan as a living hell for pedestrians. And this week, Japanese media also highlighted Taiwan's deadly roads, noting that traffic deaths each year in Taiwan were more than 6 times higher than in Japan. Residents near an airbase in eastern Taiwan are set to get compensation. That's due to growing noise from fighter jets, which are taking off more often because of tensions with China. Once again, John Van Trieste has the details.
Fighter jets like these have long been a common sight in the skies above Hualien in eastern Taiwan, home to a big airbase. But Chinese incursions into Taiwan's air defense zone mean they've never been quite so active before. Some locals have noticed.
The
military has decided to offer compensation for all the noise. It's gathered data on which areas are noisiest. Depending on how loud the jets get overhead, it's offering up to $20. Not everyone thinks this is necessary.
关于国防的安全上方面，我们是可以忍受这些噪音的。对补助的费用其实可有可无啦。
But local officials plan to keep measuring the noise and adjusting who gets what money.
在我们的等噪音线图的划分是每2年会检讨一次。我们因为去年才划分，所以我们必须要明年的时候才收集到的资料，明年再来做修正。
While the military plans to keep up its activity in this noisy patch of sky for the nation's security. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The outlying islands of Matsu are home to just 13,000 people, but they're also home to one of Taiwan's best-known liquors. Today, in the latest episode of Where is Matsu's County Chief Taking Us?, Andrew Ryan finds out how young entrepreneurs are reimagining this classic drink.
You can tell a lot about a place by what the locals eat, or in the case of Matsu, what they drink.
Nice and strong, just like I like it.
The islands are known for a strong liquor made from sorghum called gaoliang. They opened a state-run distillery here in the 1950s. It helped bring in revenue at the height of the military conflict with China.
最重要的有一个地方不能漏掉，我们的酒，在88坑道，藏在坑道里面，我们的高粱。我们的陈高都是得到世界冠军。
Tunnel 88 was a lucky find. The distillery had run out of storage space, so they decided to use an abandoned military tunnel. They later discovered that the constant temperature and humidity of the tunnel make it the perfect environment for aging wine. They store gaoliang in modern tanks, while the pots, they contain one of the most popular beverages for locals, laojiu, or literally old wine. Now, the wine's not old. It's made from an old recipe that early immigrants brought from China to Matsu. They probably never imagined that their wine would be made in a large distillery, or that a young entrepreneur would use it to create an alcohol-free coffee and serve it in a traditional morning market. 就是咖啡跟这个酒是好朋友，
意外的相恋了。
Barista Cho Sichi has also teamed up with a local chocolatier to make truffles with galliang, something I never imagined eating for breakfast.
It's like having a shot with chocolate, but very good.
The barista's wife is also his biggest source of support. She's also from Lianjiang County, but not the part in Taiwan, the part that's in China. Her 4 years here in Matsu have given her a unique perspective.
我觉得马祖更像是台湾与大陆的部分的结合所产生的一个离岛，觉得蛮有特色的。它又保存了一些很慢节奏的感觉，又有一些现代化的一个文化和传统文化的一个融合，这样一个地方。
The fusion of old and new can also be found in a modern bistro in one of Matsu's earliest settlements, Magang. It's the birthplace of an award-winning craft beer flavored with honeysuckle. The inspiration is a beloved Catholic nun from Belgium who served in Matsu for 25 years. She delivered many babies back in the day, including the bar's owner, Yao Yi.
那我就把比利时的啤酒，然后还有这个无私的奉献马祖在地的金银花去做结合，所以想说，哎，好像没有人把它做酒，大家都泡茶。
It has a very light floral flavor. It's a very sunny flavor, just a tiny bit smoky, very refreshing. They say it's good for the winter time, but I think it's great for summer. Two young entrepreneurs took a chance opening their businesses during the pandemic, and both found success using Matsu's past as inspiration. Cho Sichi helps promote the other stalls in the market too. He says that's the true spirit of Matsu.
其实现在的马祖，真正的同岛移民，不再是说以前说大家共同承担一个生命的危险，而是说老人家用他们的经验来帮助年轻人传承，年轻人用自己的活力、自己的新的思维去给老人家新的思路，然后共同合作，打开新的思路跟契机，然后找寻更多的机会，这样。
The Matsu Islands were once closed to outsiders, but now the next generation is finding new ways to share the local ingredients and stories with the rest of the world. Alex Chen, Devin Tsai, Peachy Drong, and Andrew Ryan for TaiwanPlus. Coming up in the final episode of our trip to Matsu, we head to a tiny island to meet some deer. And fingers crossed, we're hoping to catch a glimpse of the elusive blue tears.
Join us every day this week for a fresh episode of our series, Where is Matsu's County Chief Taking Us? Have you ever been to an orchestra concert featuring only percussion instruments? Our reporter Yvonne Young went to the National Concert Hall to check out this unique performance, a 100-person marimba orchestra.
An evening of music. Going to an orchestra concert, you usually expect to see a full ensemble with a variety of different musical instruments. But one show featured in this year's Taiwan International Percussion Convention consists of 100 performers, all playing marimbas. The 100-person Marimba Orchestra is a production that puts this percussion instrument center stage. It's led by renowned conductor Zhang Jingpo and features Taiwan's king of drums, Rich Huang. The production is so unconventional that only a handful of countries can pull it off. The idea for it came from American percussionist Gordon Stout, who visited Taiwan over 20 years ago and was extremely impressed by the country's national concert hall in Taipei. He brought his vision to Zhu Zongqing, the founder of the well-known Zhu Percussion Group.
就跟朱老师提议说，我觉得如果在台湾可以有这样子的一个机会来举办，很多人一起演奏木琴的这种音乐会，在这个厅是他听过声音最适合木琴的一个表演厅。
Putting together a production like this is not an easy task. The organizers faced many challenges, from recruiting members to getting the instruments. Huang says it was difficult, but not as hard as he imagined it would be. He says the marimba is actually a pretty popular instrument in Taiwan, so they had a big pool of them to borrow from.
因为像我们乐团自己不可能拥有50-60台琴嘛，所以表示这个音乐会也一定需要到处跟人家借这个乐器。
Once they locked down the performers and the instruments, the next challenge was how to get all of them on the same stage. The National Concert Hall stage is big, but was it big enough to accommodate 100 people and 52 marimbas, each around 3 meters long?
其实不是只有木琴而已，又还有其他一些打击乐器。我们甚至于都已经运用到最上层那个管风琴的那一层，摆了木琴了，已经摆满了。
And what would a music performance be without the music? Coming up with an arrangement to make the band sound like an actual orchestra was also a hurdle the producer had to overcome. He had to creatively leverage the unique sound of the marimba.
譬如说用音域的差别，或者用不同的棒子来制造不同的音色。那还有就是人员的比例上，譬如说哪一个声部它人少一点。
Even for a production this big, the group had only 4 days to rehearse with all the members present, but they were able to put it together in the end. The 100-person Marimba Orchestra not only showcased the possibility of this classical instrument, it also demonstrated the beauty of teamwork. Patrick Chen and Yvonne Yang for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Finally today, we leave you with images of an annual gathering of history, costume, and Baroque dance lovers at the Palace of Versailles. Sounds and looks really fancy. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care and see you next time.